So let me first start out by saying thank you to each and every one of you. Whether you were new to the channel here in 2024 or have been a longtime supporter, again, I can't say thank you enough. I truly, truly appreciate each and every one of you for watching, commenting, supporting in any way that you can. It means the absolute world to me. So this list here is a little bit different. This is going to be more of a, I'm going to say non-allocated, everyday-ish kind of whiskey, something you might be able to find local in your area. Again, I know all of these whiskeys aren't going to just be readily available, but I'm kind of calling this the everyday-ish 2024 whiskey of the year, something that didn't fall into the category of my super high-end kind of 2024 bourbons of the year or the rye whiskeys. These were something that kind of fell just under that, but still are extremely, extremely fantastic bourbons, ryes, whatever kind of whiskey it may be, that were worthy of being on a list. You know, oftentimes, like we all do, we put together these lists and they have expensive bourbons, highly allocated, things along those lines. This list is not necessarily going to be that. This is going to be the more everyday bourbons, ryes, whatever it may be, that you should be able to find locally-ish. So we're going to highlight that, and that's why we're going to kind of dive into these and find out what my everyday whiskey of 2024 is. All right, so let's start out with my number 7 everyday-ish whiskey of 2024. That's going to go to Still Austin and their blue corn whiskey. I'll tell you what, this is an absolutely delicious, delicious whiskey. And coming in again, bottle and bond, 100 proof. It is so full of flavor at 100 proof. That blue corn and that profile really, really stand out. Admittedly, Still Austin is kind of leaps and bounds ahead and my favorite of all of the Texas whiskeys, and rightfully so. What it is that everybody there does and what they do to create these whiskeys are absolutely amazing. And if for some reason you're able to find the blue corn bourbon, I'll say pick it up. I think it is a fantastic everyday-ish kind of bourbon, especially if you're looking for something that's a little bit more different, not so tried and true. You are going to get a little bit of that kind of Texas terroir, I should say. But again, that is why the Still Austin Blue Corn Bourbon is my number 7 everyday bourbon of 2024. All right, so here we are. My number 6 everyday-ish bourbon of 2024 goes to Barrell Craft Spirits and their batch number 36. So these are bourbons anywhere from 7.5 to 15 years in age. All of these things came in at 114.44 proof. Again, Barrell is a pretty wide distribution. So for the most of us, we should all be able to find a lot of these Barrell releases. This specifically being batch 36. This happens to actually be my second bottle of that. But absolutely loved it. The blend of it, again, Barrell and what they do, they are master blenders. And creating or taking those bourbons from Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee and working their magic, again, they have 100% nailed yet another release. I think batch 36 is probably one of the better that they've released over the last several years. In the last 2-3 years, they've really stepped their game up, their attention to detail, and that's really kind of made its way to the forefront, especially with this batch 36 and why it's my number 6 everyday-ish bourbon of 2024. All right, so here we are with the top 5 of my everyday-ish bourbons of 2024, and that's gonna go to the Russell's 10. This one was a kind of outlier throughout the year. This is the laser code kind of drama-y bourbon, the LLME. I know there's really been nothing that has 100% identified the older whiskey that were in here, but there definitely could be 12, 13-year barrels blended within this 10-year LLME specifically release. So if you were one of the ones that went hunting, or a lot of you found that specific laser code, in my opinion, it had a little bit more of an elevated profile, and it felt a little richer, a little bit more definition or definitive on the oak side of things. I think the cherry was a little bit more present, not very like medicinal, more of that kind of maybe muted Luxardo cherry. It just felt more rounded, darker, deeper, richer. So again, it's why it made my number 5 everyday-ish bourbon of 2024. All right, we are going back to an old favorite, but semi-new. This is one that I just kind of got back to this year. And this is from Heaven Hill, their Bottle and Bond age 7-year bourbon. I'll tell you what, for a bourbon that is now become pretty readily available just about everywhere you go at around $40, $45, 100 proof, this thing offers up a tremendous value to flavor kind of ratio. I think for what it is you're getting, a 7 probably plus year bourbon, again, at around $40, $45, again, readily available. Nice, beautiful oaks that are on this. Again, very tried and true. You do get a little bit of that Heaven Hill kind of nuttiness characteristic, not as heavy as maybe Jim Beam, that is there, but a lot of the vanillas, caramels, nice cherry notes, beautiful oak, good spice, coats the mouth extremely well. And I would say for everybody watching this, I think this is a bottle that really needs to be on everyone's bar. I think it will really kind of surprise an awful lot of people that aren't either familiar with it or have just overlooked this. I know when they had kind of the old, old white label, Bottle and Bond back in the days, people kind of went crazy for it. Then they kind of shifted and got rid of that, came with this. And it just kind of, there was a lot of excitement right away, but that kind of fell off. But I'll tell you what, in my opinion, this is a bottle that needs to really be on every shelf, behind every bar, whatever it may be. But that's why it's my number 4 everyday-ish bottle or bourbon of 2024. All right, so coming in at number 3 from Ben Holiday, this is the 1 barrel. The Rickhouse proof, the bottle, I just finished it, and unfortunately it got thrown away, so I will put it up on the screen right over here and just show you the Rickhouse proof. I'll tell you what, from Ben Holiday, they are a brand that in the last couple of years have just skyrocketed in popularity, and rightfully so. The bourbons that they are creating there in Missouri are hands down some of the best whiskeys that are out there. They are really pretty affordable in the overall aspect of things. They are now getting into really, really nice ages on these, but the flavor profile that they have will rival just about anybody else that's out there. So if you have overlooked or aren't overly familiar with what it is that Ben Holiday does, again, take a look at right here, the Rickhouse proof bourbon. They also have a soft red wheat, but I'll tell you what, this just on its own, which again is a rye bourbon, is absolutely a beautiful, beautiful bourbon, and it's why it's my number 3 everyday-ish bourbon of 2024. All right, we are winding down, and we are at my number 2 everyday-ish bourbon of 2024, and that's going to Jim Beam, and specifically the Jim Beam Black 7-year. They rebranded this year and came back out with this very, very, I guess I'll say economically priced at probably less than $30, 90 proof. So it makes this bourbon an everyday kind of pour, meaning that if you're not always looking for big proof, this is a bourbon, again, at 90 proof that has a lot of flavor that will really allow you to get that nice bourbon just feel. You can sit down with this, you know exactly what it is you're going to get, again, without all the high proof, but still a ton of flavor. This becomes a very kind of tried and true flavor profile. So again, if you haven't had specifically from Jim Beam, the 7-year black label. It is 100% worth a buy. I think for, again, that price range, the now availability of this makes this kind of a no-brainer, and is one that everybody, in my opinion, should be seeking out. And again, like the Heaven Hill bottle and bond, I think this is another bottle that needs to be in like an everyday kind of rotation, or just a bottle that you constantly or have at all times at the bar. And it's why it's my number 2 everyday bourbon of 2024. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to my number 1 everyday-ish bourbon of 2024. All right, so here we are. My number 1 everyday-ish and available bourbon of 2024 goes to Green River and their Foolproof. When this thing came out, I think everybody was kind of taken back on just overall how delicious of a bourbon this thing really was. At or around that 6-7 year mark, 117.3 proof, now readily available just about everywhere, or the vast majority of places you can find this, at right around $50, give or take a few dollars one way or another. But for what this offers, you know, again, at that $50 price point, you've got not only the availability, you've got a great proof that it has, you've got just overall a very drinkable bourbon. And it's probably why, if I was going to kind of nail down a distillery of the year 2024, I'd probably even have to hand that over to Green River / Bardstown Bourbon Company with the merger that they had in 2024. Again, this profile, the availability, the price, the flavor profile, everything became the perfect package, and it's why it's my number 1 everyday bourbon of 2024. So there you go, guys. Thank you so much. And like I had mentioned early on in the video, I couldn't do all of this without you, all of your support, the comments, really any support that you have. I greatly appreciate it. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. And in addition to that, I also have to say a huge thank you to my Patreon community for all of the love, the support, whether it's for the channel, the Mash and Journey Whiskey Club. You guys as the Mash and Journey Army make this all a very, very special community. And if you're one that is not a part of the Mash and Journey Whiskey Club or the Mash and Journey Army, and it's something you're maybe looking to try as we kind of move our way into 2025, make sure you check out that Patreon link in the description below. We have a million different things that feels like coming here in 2025. A lot of the other people, I think, could vouch for that as well. But overall, in general, to every single one of you who watches and supports the channel, whatever way, I have to say again, thank you so much. I truly, truly appreciate all of your support from the bottom of my heart. So with that being said, my number 1 everyday bourbon of 2024 goes to Green River and is the Foolproof 117.3 proof bourbon. I'll tell you what, go find it. It is a fantastic, fantastic bourbon. And again, my number 1 bourbon of 2024. Cheers, guys. And like I say, it's about the journey and not the destination. We'll see you in 2025. Cheers.